you've got a number of accomplishments there at Janus Henderson and also in your previous experiences. So can you share some examples of business value that you've delivered with your capabilities?
At the data quality level or data operations team, the thing that we are very concerned about is the cost of our data operations team, scalability, and the more and more services that are required from them. So we're looking at automation everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It could be within a single mastering process, but most of the time it's across those borders. When you have two processes that don't really connect with each other, and you say, what's the point of rekeying information coming from a process into a different tool with all the operational risks that imply? So what we're working on is connecting these processes. Like, for example, onboarding. Again, we have a new client coming for Janus Henderson. We need to collect a lot of data through what we call the onboarding process. But that client data sits in the process until it's rekeyed in the client master, or it was rekeyed in our client master. So we connected these processes to have them, I would say, automated and no boundaries between the process anymore. So that's one way for us to keep our headcount on the operational level at the level where it is and limit our cost, while at the same time getting rid of operational risk. So that's one example at the operational level. At the governance level, the main example I can give you is Janus Henderson, as the name implies, is the merger of two companies, Janus and Henderson, one being a US company, the other one being a UK company. And it may surprise you, but Americans and British don't speak the same language. So we have a lot of issues when it comes to understanding each other, especially when you have legacy practices on each side of the pond. So the question became, well, when you have too many methodologies, it reflects, and your clients see that. They see that you price one way in the US, you price a different way in the UK. It cannot work like this anymore. Our clients are global. We are a global company. We need to be consistent. So our governance team, we embarked on what we call a global methodology convergence, whose goal is to actually say, well, that's the end of the legacy Janus or legacy Henderson methodologies. Now we're going to have one single global methodology for Janus Henderson. So this is another way for us to let's say, improve the way of a merged company going forward.
Common language, I tell you, is so important, and it really can unlock so much in terms of business value to get down to those process details, data details. I bet you have also a number of aha moments that happen as a result of bringing them into many of those working teams as you start to build that common language. So powerful. And you also mentioned in terms of automation, benefits that the company has also benefited from by being able to address data quality, which we're finding also to be an important thing as organizations looking for more operational efficiency. Value delivery requires also managing expectations with different stakeholder groups. Oftentimes we say, we've got this great program, here are these capabilities I'm standing up, and a number of lines of business and business functions say, oh, good, I'm so excited about that, and I can't get ready. And you've got a line outside your door, Sylvain, I bet, with people saying, help me. Are there any best practices that you've had in terms of communication and education across various groups on the value of data analytics and setting expectations appropriately?
Yeah, that's another one where it's very difficult. Communication is the base for everything, especially when it comes to change management. The first, and that's the most obvious, but for whatever reason we don't seem to understand that, is our language in data management is very specific. Same way as language in technology is very specific. So when we talk about data governance, when we talk about all these kind of concepts, mastering, people may not understand that. So the first thing is communication is about being understood. So you need to use the other language to get through. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if I go into an executive committee and I start explaining mastering with architecture and data literacy, oh my gosh, after 3 minutes, they're all gone, okay? So I need to transform that into something that is simple enough, but in plain English that they could understand and translate that for them to make decisions on. So that's the first thing. Just be conscious of the limit of our own data language. That I think is very, very critical. The second thing is we communicate at different levels. And when we communicate at different levels, we don't communicate the exact same thing, which is logical. When we communicate to the executives, the message obviously is more strategic. But when we communicate to the communities that we have, the data communities that we create on a regular basis, it's really more in-depth reviews of what works and what doesn't work and why we need to change it. And in those communities, since we're talking to experts, then we can be very, very detailed and very, again, specific to the context we're trying to address. So the question for us is more to bring the right population to communicate to through our communities to make sure that we address enough people so that they can become our voices in their own respective departments. I think that's, if there is one advice I would give, is change management alone is impossible. So if you start convincing people through our data communities like we do, that what we are doing is the right thing to do, then there will be the voices of that change for you in their own divisions, and therefore they will create the reflex for the others, and don't have to spend that much time explaining that to everybody. Otherwise, I would be swamped all day long.